So looking up the assessments about things that we do on a day to day, like there's nothing that we do in this world that is not monitored. Like me understanding the fact of how simulation works, it opens up a whole different conversation of something that's supposed to be complex is not as complex as it may seem, and how it's supposed to be used universally can actually lead to schemes, Ponzi schemes. Like there's like things that some people probably not paying attention to, and things were actually created for you to understand. Like when you actually are woken or wake up to what's actually happened, a lot of people be miseducated, and that's why, like, you ever notice certain celebrities, there are particular schools that they go to. It's for a reason. But however, like, in other sense, it's not complicated to explain, but for the person that got the direct understanding of how it can operate, they tell you, business is like family is like business, and other negotiations it's like the thing of three. And it's just like I keep having this insight about it, but it's like shift changing, like kids crying and stuff like that. It's like, should you feel any type of way or anything like that? Like, no, it's not going to stop me. Like, eventually, some people, like, when it comes to it and you have to have a hard conversation, if I was to ask somebody, like, if you had to choose between your mental stability and somebody saying, I'm going to threaten to take this and this and this away from you, okay, and the intent behind it is to cause some kind of psychological or mental or emotional trigger for you to give a particular behavior, like looking into psychological and theological aspects, and then you have to look into religious aspects, and then it's just like financial constraints will play a part in that. But however, it's like psychological, religious, and the capability, like survival of the fittest. Like, so like listening to that, like analytics, the energy of the elements of how it's used and utilized. So a lot of people will realize, like, certain things, like a lot of you're not meant to understand like everything, but then it's like most things you actually should know. And it's like some people are not, because it's like they're blinded by this one spot in particular. Like, how you should live will actually cause you to have more freedom. And a lot of people be like, oh, well, how are you doing this and how are you doing that? Like, I know I'm some type of, goddess or deity or some kind of line or something like that. For people to go as far as where they're going to, make this seem like, oh, you're not going to recognize that this is where we are, or this is where we're putting you, and this is what this person is doing to you. But however, that person doesn't really understand it. It's like, I get them, do they get me? And then it's like, I'm not going to keep spending my life trying to translate. Like, if anything, I have a clear understanding, like, when it comes to the laws and understanding of pursuit. And I know somebody's going to be like, oh, shoot, she's not going to listen to this kid crying and screaming and da-da-da. Like, that's neither here nor there. You're not going to try to use those kind of aspects to say, like, this person is irresponsible or they're losing their mind. Because I know, like, right now, somebody wants to use some kind of psychological abuse or abuse of the judicial system to say, like, hey, this person, what the things that they say, like, listen to what they say, it doesn't even make sense. But then when somebody actually, like a real person, actually analyze and do things without having emotion and logically examine it, it's like this person makes some very much clear factual points. And at the end of the day, it's factual points. It's like you're not able to miss that if you just not looking at it into in that aspect. It's like red pill, blue pill, but it's like, everyone's going to pick their poison at the end of the day. But then it's like that poison could either be, for you to thrive, and not everybody's meant to thrive on that. Or you could be that person, like, I'm not meant to be in that box. Like, I can understand both things and be the person of balance. And it's like everything is free will and it's choice. So it's just like that third in between where it's like you come in and conjoin it, regardless if you were talking about magnetic energy, or you talking about Einstein's theory, or, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, all these other people, like, there's a lot of high ranking people, but someone is like not understanding like the miseducation of it. Like, when it comes to certain organs of reproduction, and the only reason why there's so little scientific facts about it is because if I present you all the facts, do you not know how many people will go on and do a particular thing? It's a form of control, but I can understand why the process is, because it's like, well, with how things are going, and if you are able to just energetically impede, or make this inconsistency, or this person can't see or understand, like, if you don't personally understand yourself, period, like self, like if I didn't understand my body, my mentality, my emotional, psychological, financial, like everything has a play to affect those things. And if I didn't choose to understand, like, hey, I need to understand myself, and internally, externally, whether it's strengths, weaknesses, whether it's something that causes me balance, imbalance, and you do your best to make sure that all the weakness that I do have, I do my best. That's the main purpose of why you watch the cartoon or the movie like Jumanji and shit like that. And so people are gonna be like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, I can understand a lot of people don't like the fact, like, I really be learning something every day when it comes to this person, but it's like I can't pull myself to say it to their face, or it makes me feel less of a man or less of a woman. It doesn't fucking really matter. Like, the fuck, if the person just got the information, that got it. It's just no different as if when you run to religion shit, that was the same thing with fucking Jesus. They crucified the man because of the simple fact, like, how do you have all this knowledge and you didn't go through, college, or you didn't go through being in the king's place? Well, maybe that person, that Mary Magdalene was that person, and it was like, hey, she might not have all the physical riches, but she was a rich in woman, because guess what? It's billions of thousands, and I don't know how many years since the man died, but however long time, apparently she was still a rich woman. I mean, she ain't getting paid because she ain't here to physically enjoy it, but however, maybe it's a reincarnation of somebody you don't know. We have so many things, like cycles repeats itself, but then it's like that transition. Some people get afraid of it because it's like, well, it's our folks' time, and you don't ever know who time it is and who they're gonna put in that place. And it's like, if you can't say something to their face, why are you saying anything in the first place? Like, that was the problem when I had things like, what's that girl named Deandra, whatever, and Monique, and these people that I went to school with, these were Air Force kids. So of course, their parents be in the household talking about shit they ain't got no business talking about, and they be thinking the kids don't listen, but shit, most of the time them motherfuckers be the ones that be, I wouldn't say just the ops, but working for the cops and shit like that. And it's like, okay, because their parents get paid way more. When you go to the branches and you look at it across the board, it's just like, shit, it makes logical sense. And people just don't look at it from them perspectives to understand, like, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, they got an opinion, but they not really trying to understand and really know, like, hey, ask particular questions that you need to, whether, friend, foe, hoe, you don't know, like, you don't judge anybody, but then you get a clear understanding, like, oh, this is how all this shit works. Whether, you go to a fucking pope know everything, all the sins, and the person be like, oh, God's gonna forgive you. You don't know what God's gonna forgive you. You just probably sitting there like, I gotta take this in, I gotta sit with it, go talk to Jesus about it, how you feel I should handle it. But then you gotta be a person like you can't have no emotions when you come to you want to be a preacher or a pastor, be like, hey, the truth is the truth hurt. And sometimes you gotta look within yourself, like, hey, would I be willing to do that? And most of the time they just take that sacrifice, like, shit, I do not want to be humanized or like humans, and it's like, this is what I like to be in. And then some people are just not multifaceted. That's just what they're in. Some people just have that path where they just meant to be that minister. You're meant to be that pastor, not a multi-billionaire, but you might be, a multi-millionaire. You might hit them billions, but it's like, that's as far as you're going to go. And it's like people that's going to keep going further and further and recreating like Steve Jobs, but shit, they had to slow that motherfucker down because, hey, the shit that you start getting into and hey, that karma plays and hits you regardless of who the fuck you are. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like universally, when you get intercepted in things, you got to play along with this game where it's like, they ain't gonna know that this is being simulated. shit, I learned that a long time ago when they was able to create particular games where it's like the Sims game was caught my attention. Grand Theft Auto is what caught my attention. So it's just like in each instance it let me know like Sims is more to let you know what goes on in like suburban areas. Grand Theft Auto, of course, is going to be talking about every hood, every ghettos that there is, cartel. Grand Theft Autos is dedicated to that. The racers are more like, okay, those are the rich people. And then, you know, you got the game so forth for the high class and stuff like that. The high class is like the Elder Scrolls and Destiny and Halo and shit like that. And then you got that person that's in between, you know, right above the rich folks, but right in between that 1%, they are like, you know, the military and stuff like that, or spaceships and Destiny and all those type of, you know, spaceship and, you know, it's levels to this shit, and people be like, how do you even know this shit? It doesn't require a fucking rocket scientist to figure this shit out. But it's just like, we are in a system of forever learning, but it's just like, do you have the mental capacity to understand where these things are coming from? And then it's like, you know, beat at your own drum, like, hey, do I need this person to work and do like this and move like this and speak to this person like that? Like the people that you're supposed to work with, you're just going to be like, whoa, okay. How does this even make sense? And then it's like, to the other people that actually do the shit, they're going to make complete sense. And it's just like, all right, you know, that's where some people, when they get enlightened, they either, you know, I want to be quiet, I don't even want to talk about this. Like, you know, they know that it exists, but it's like talking about it, and it's like, I got to deal with it. Then you got the ones that's in the, you know, in the midst of it, and they just got to deal with the shit because it's like, hey, I'm not meant to really deal with this shit, because you got the other people that are actually creating this shit. It's just, for somebody, it'll be like, this is complicated to understand, but to the right mind, they're going to understand what the fuck I'm saying. And it's like, no, she is not crazy. She's absolutely right. But it leads to other discussions, conversations, and those people that do not have that intellectual capacity to understand, like, how do you know to go look for these things? Like, okay, just look up how is your government system set up. Simple. From there, you can figure out what's what, who can do what kind of authority, what capacity do they have. And then it's like, do you look at this in the angel aspect? And then you got to look at it in a devilish manner. And it's like, hey, then that's how you understand corruption. And then this is how you understand, you know, finances, and whether it's going good, whether it's going, like, prediction and all that other stuff. Like, a lot of things makes clear, complete sense to me. But, you know, explaining it to somebody that's just not open to really understanding, it's just like, how did you know? It's like, I don't have to prove something that you already know to be true, and you and I both know that. And then it's like, it's giving me the movie. I feel like the little girl that had to invite the big guy that worked for the CIA, and it was like, how do you know? Like, because it's like, it requires you to have a certain mindset and a heart space in order for these things to work in a particular way. And it's just like, well, how is it that you get these people, you know? There's certain people that was able to do things in a particular way, and it's like, oh dang, like, you are an alien or something. Like, baby, I'm an earth angel goddess, you know, different from other things. And it's like, my buddy do amazing things, and I'm grateful for that. And it's just like, don't use somebody as like, I'm not gonna be anybody's experiment. Like, use other people that's just, you know, they're okay with that. I'm just not okay with that, and I'm speaking it out. And me being able to speak out to say that does not give you the right to be like, we gotta end them or whatever, all because of the fact of money. No, release what is meant to me. And it's like, you know, judgment or whatever, keep that to yourself personally. But it's just like, this person deserved that and then more. And it's like, taking that to have the time to do what it is that you really want to do and things like that. It just leads to so much more than what it is that people want to place upon you. And that's, you know, what it is. And then it's like, you shouldn't be forgiving, because it's like, sometimes they don't want you to be forgiving because people that you're supposed to work with, it'll make too much power. It's just like being supernatural, or like the magical 8 or 9 or 10 people or whatever. It's like a group of people that if they connect, it's like, it's giving me like Captain Planet vibes. Like, yeah, it can save lives, it can save the world, it can save, you know, so many different things. But it's just like, If it's just them, then okay, we can do this and this and this. But it's just like, hey, if I'm meant to just step away from that, then I'm able to. But it's just like, where's the things that we can speak about this on a higher level versus trying to put it out publicly, or we can conceal this. It's like we make decisions every day, and then it's like the people that you put in place is causing these things to fall into place or fall in that kind of way. Like, allow this person to be in this kind of place and position, and we save ourselves a lot of the rest of the other things that we are looking to escape. Basically, y'all looking to escape, not me. It's just like, I know where I'm supposed to be and where I belong, and confidence and things like that. Like, hey, you're not going to tell me, oh, you're this, you're that. No, apparently I must be one amazing motherfucker, because, hey, it takes great things to do those kind of things. But, with love and honesty and sincerity, it's just like, no pun and no mercy, but, justice is justice. Like, how are we going to serve this? And let's do this, logically, to have a clear understanding. Pain, I'm accustomed to it. It's like, I really don't care about fucking too many things, let alone human beings. Unless it's like my little human beings, I love them. But it's just like, if you're going to take them, it's like, you're still not going to make me feel any kind of way. Like, if we do this to these, well, let's see how they're going to react. Like, you finna do your last, quick 1, 2, and it's like, well, we took away 4 more. How are we going to do that? Well, it's still, y'all know how that works. And we can just leave it at that, And even, whatever I have to step back from, it's like, it still be able to be publicly either way it goes. But it's just like, how it's going to go is like, you're in it. And now, like, no one's going to convince me of that. But however, pray, stand firm, stand tall. If you can't learn from them, it's nothing at all. If you willing to grow, they got to understand that sometimes you're going to have to switch certain roles, and that's okay. But, certain things are meant to be a particular way because it was just like how it was designed to be. And a lot of people don't understand the coin and the redefining understanding of saying those things, okay? So we leave it at that. Honest places.